America's best-selling car, the F-Series pickup truck. It's a very big truck with an open bed. Over about 8 decades, they sold tens of millions of units. Over time, Ford company introduced many improvements to production process of this car. They introduced moving assembly lines, introduced standardization, introduced common parts for all their different cars. They introduced a lot of robotics for welding, for painting, and for other things. And their competitors did basically the same. Because of this, the production cost became faster and cheaper. This put a downward pressure on the costs across the whole economy. And this phenomena happens for everything we produce and everything we do. And we call this technological deflation. And this is a good force. So I want to make it very clear. This technological deflation makes everything more affordable for everyone. But here's the puzzle. The pickup truck 50 years ago cost $3,500. Today, it costs around $39,000. So if technology makes things cheaper, why is the sticker price so much higher? It shouldn't be like this.
Hello, this is the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our guest today is Kasjan. Kasjan is writing a book about Bitcoin, about sound money, and we are going to have an amazing conversation. So stay tuned and learn a lot about Bitcoin. Good morning, everyone. Here we are in Hong Kong, under the rain. If you watched the episode with Andrew Webley, maybe you might know this place. Is the Bruce Lee statue, but when I came with him, the weather was much better. Just rained a little bit in the afternoon, but no problem. I am here with Kasjan. He is a Bitcoiner. We've been with him at the beginning of the year talking about other things, but today we are going to talk about, of course, Bitcoin, but the book that he is writing. We are here in Hong Kong enjoying the coffee and enjoying the rain. I love the rain, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying. And today you are not going to see many good views of Hong Kong, but the most important thing is the content. Kasjan, how are you doing?
Thank you, Fernando. I'm doing very well. Thank you for the invitation, and happy to be here with you in a rainy Hong Kong.
And thank you very much. And let's talk about your book. You're writing a book. It's going to be published soon. And talk me about, first of all, the title of the book. What is the book talking about? And what are your main motivations of writing this book?
So the main motivation to write this book is to provide a very simple resource for everyone who was never interested in money and prices, and to explain it in a very simple way. My name is Kasjan. The name of my book is Broken Prices, The Road to Sound Money. And here I would like to give you a short masterclass on broken prices.
Okay, so enlighten us.
Yes. So, picture America's best-selling car, the F-Series pickup truck. It's a very big truck with an open bed. Over about 8 decades, they sold tens of millions of units. Over time, Ford company introduced many improvements to production process of this car. They introduced moving assembly lines. They introduced standardization, introduced common parts for all their different cars. They introduced a lot of robotics for welding, for painting, and for other things. And their competitors did basically the same. And because of this, the production cost became faster and cheaper. This put a downward pressure on the costs across the whole economy. And this phenomena happens for everything we produce and everything we do. And we call this technological deflation. And this is a good force. So I want to make it very clear. This technological deflation makes everything more affordable for everyone. But here is the puzzle. The pickup truck 50 years ago cost $3,500. And today it costs around $39,000. So if technology makes things cheaper, why is the sticker price so much higher? It shouldn't be like this. Hence the title of the book, Broken Prices. Now, there's only one reason why the price of this car is more expensive today than it was 50 years ago. This reason is...
Fucking fiat.
Yes, this reason is money printing. What happens is we print more money, the currency unit gets weaker, and the prices go higher. Over the last half a century, US dollar money supply grew by about 6.5% per year on average, per Federal Reserve. When the denominator, US dollars, expands, prices rise. It's a very simple math equation. More dollars equals higher prices. Now, most people never received any of this newly printed money directly. That's why it's so hard to imagine. So I will emphasize this once again. Over the last 50 years, on average, 6.5% per year, more dollars were printed. This is very important. Now, what does it all mean? It means that, especially in the long run, the price of everything had to rise on average 6.5% per year. But let's now go back to our Ford F-Series truck. So I said that 50 years ago, the price of the truck cost $3,500. And 50 years later, it cost around $39,000. So over this 50 years period, the price of the truck went up by about 11 times.
Can I add my 2 cents on that? I was, by the way, talking about that, I was listening today to Juan Ramón Rayo, that is one of my favorite Spanish economists and YouTubers, and he pointed this way. In the last year, the price of property in Spain raised 10%. And in the last 30 years, the real price, not the fiat price, the real price was adjusted by inflation, rise by 10%. And the salary in the last 30 years, I think that rose between 3 and 5%. So imagine the problem of the fiat world, that in just 1 year, the property doubles, the property price doubles the price of the rise of the salary in the last 30 years. So that's the big problem that we have with fiat.
That's exactly right. So coming back to the pickup truck, right? So the cost of the truck is 11 times higher. Now, if we now do a calculation, how much is it per year?
Yeah.
We will conclude that the price of the truck went up by about 5% per year. So now, interesting question is, why the price went up 5% per year, not 6.5% per year? And the reason, and there's only one reason for this, and this reason is technological deflation that I just discussed. So basically, this means that if you subtract now 5% from 6.5%, you will get 1.5%. This is the rate of technological deflation achieved in the plants of Ford Motor Company over the last 50 years per year. So that means that if we didn't print the money, the Ford most best-selling truck would actually cost less 1.5% every year, instead of rising 5%, like I just explained. Now, I will make a very small note, because some people will say that, today the cars are a little bit safer, they have a bit more features, and of course it's true, right? So it's not a perfect apple-to-apple comparison. To make it perfect, we would need to subtract the cost of the safety systems and some electronics from the final price of the car today, and we would conclude that the technological deflation was actually a little bit higher than 1.5% per year, maybe 1.6%, 1.7%, something like this. But the point stands. And now, what Fernando mentioned already, right? That some people will say, okay, but I got also a pay raise. Wages were rising as well, right? But just like you explained, not nearly enough. Wages were basically, we can compare this to all different kinds of things. But the wages were rising the slowest, basically. So in my book, I compare it to housing, to food, to tuition fees, and the wages were rising the slowest. And it's a very big problem. And basically, that's why saving for a house today is about 3 times harder than it was 50 years ago. Basically, this impact accumulates and compounds, and every year there is it's harder for the people to save than to anything.
Can I add my 2 cents here?
Please, Fernando.
Well, according to the page, What the Fuck Happened in 1971, that I always suggest and go to check it. In the 70s and 60s, you need to save 2.6 years to buy a house in the United States. Now, you need to save almost 8 years of your salary to buy a house in the United States. In other countries, it's much, much worse. And the politicians, the solution that they provide is, okay, let's ban people from buying houses. Let's ban the rich people to buy houses. Let's expropriate people that have many houses, when the problem is generated by them. As my friend said, the problem is printing money, not the rich people buying more houses. That's the big problem.
That's exactly correct. That's fantastic, Fernando. And this problem is generally exactly the same all over developed world. It's exactly the same story. I made an example of US dollars, but it's the same all over developed countries, and slightly different in developing countries, which I discussed in the book as well.
And can I add another 2 cents, that the problem of the housing, because we are in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is one of the places where we have the highest cost of housing. For example, here, a small apartment of 300 square feet, it costs over $1 million US. And that's and why? Because people with money, especially from mainland China, they buy property in order to escape of inflation. So if people with money come here and buy houses without even asking price, the price is going to go up. And this happened all around the world. In Argentina, our grandparents, our parents, they used to say, you need to save in bricks. You need to save in property, because it's the only property that you can, you don't lose money against inflation. But now we have, the problem with this is, not everyone can buy a house. You cannot buy a piece of a house. I cannot go and buy the bathroom of a house. There is a way of property that is much better, that you can, and even though is more strongest than the housing, that is called Bitcoin. And you can have this kind of property for $5, $10, $20. How much you want, you can buy. So continue.
Thank you, Fernando. Yeah, exactly. So basically, I mentioned the problem with affordability of a car. You mentioned real estate, right? But you also mentioned what I quite in depth discuss in the book, the problem with saving, right? Like this money printing has a very destructive impact on the saving. Basically, we cannot save and in an efficient and normal form. So that's why we have all this problem, and that's why people buy housing, like you explained, the housing, crazy housing prices here in Hong Kong and in all other places on Earth, actually, and this is because of that, right? So we have this monetary premium, this demand for saving, that it needs to go somewhere. So it goes to, for example, real estate, and this causes that actually the cost of real estate is not only the utility value of the house, right? That, oh, I need to live there, but actually, like, if somebody has a lot of money, they need to save somewhere. So, like, generally speaking, housing is a decent vehicle. It's not perfect. Actually, it's not good, actually, but it's better than to keep the fiat currency, right? So there is a monetary premium. And by the way, in my book, I discuss a little bit more in depth. I calculate how much is this monetary premium. Because now, for your maybe a little bit more advanced users, this monetary premium will flow back to Bitcoin. So now everybody would like to know, how much is it, right? Is it like 30% of the value of American real estate, 50% or 75%? I give a very simple framework how to calculate it, how to calculate this premium on real estate, gold, and all different other things. So that's one interesting thing for people with a little bit more advanced knowledge of money. But now, just coming back to the story. So I mentioned that it's slightly different in developed countries and developing countries. Now, one thing is always the same in every country, everywhere in the world. So there always are two forces fighting behind the every price tag in the world. Force number one is technological deflation that I just discussed. Is just application of technology, innovation, productivity, which is a good force. It makes everything cheaper, more available for everyone. And then there is a second destructive force, which is money printing force, which is making everything more expensive and less affordable. And unfortunately, this battle is won almost always by money printing. That's why every year, pretty much everything becoming more expensive. Now, those two forces are the most critical to understand money. Everything else, all other jargon, interest rates, everything else is secondary. Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you very much. Kasja, when is going to be your book released?
So the book, I plan to release the English edition around the year end. And then there will be also a Polish and Vietnamese version to follow. Now, you can get notified first on this. I already have a website. The website name is soundmoneyroad.com. Website is available in all those three languages.
And in Spanish?
We'll see if there is a demand for Spanish. I'm actually, one more comment about this. I publish it in Polish and Vietnamese because those markets are very close to my heart, but also I feel like they're very much underserved. There are not enough podcasts and good books, and that's why I come up forward with putting my attention and investment into those markets, basically.
I'm talking about the real estate because, of course, the real estate was the investment for boomers, right? Now, I think that most of us, with the new way of living and especially the new generation, Gen Z, millennials, first of all, we can afford, most of us, we can afford to a house. So that's the main point. For example, my mom has 4 properties in Argentina, and he and my dad were employees. My mom is a teacher retired. My dad passed away 20 years ago, but he was a bank employee. He was not even a high rank employee of the bank. He was just employee, and they were able to save and buy 4 properties. So that's something that now cannot happen in the current circumstances. So I think that, triggered by the situation that Gen Z and Boomer and millennials cannot afford, or probably we can afford just a house to live, do you think that the savings and the way of preserving wealth for Gen Z and millennials, together with the knowledge of technology, is going to be triggering more money into Bitcoin?
Before I answer your question, Fernando, let me emphasize your point. How difficult it is actually to save for a house, right? We said that it's so much more difficult today than it was 50 years ago. But now, imagine, right? So let's say you need maybe $500,000 to buy some property in the US, right? So you need to incrementally save this $500,000, right? Bit by bit. But now the problem is that every year, whatever you will save is being debased by 6.5%. Right, or 6%, right? So it's like it's just so much more difficult, right? If the money would keep value, then even if it's like 3-4 times harder to save for a house, then maybe you can still do it after so many years, right? But not even this, you're just being debased every year. So that's why it's like extremely difficult. Now, coming to your question, of course, like property is very cumbersome. You need to, it's hard to buy, hard to sell. There's like so much paperwork. There's like all those obstacles. And now you can just download a Bitcoin wallet in a 1 minute, right? And you can save right away. So it's incredible. And also, I think young generation is thinking more and more about the future. Like when I talk to a lot of young people in Vietnam, and they use AI. They use all the fancy tools in AI. They are very much forward thinking in this area, and this gives me like a glimpse of a future. You know, like this younger generation. It's not interested in those boomer investments and all these things. They think forward, and they need digital money, right? So it's not only about the saving, but it's also like about this technological rails that just are they'll be used by AI basically soon enough.
Yes, I think that the world is changing. And of course, with Bitcoin, you know that you have the best ever created property and the only real property that you have in the world, because you can have I like to watch all these dystopical movies of like catastrophes. And anytime I watch a movie, I think the implication of Bitcoin in a world, in a dystopical world. One of the things that you can, if you have a property, you think that is yours, but it's not 100%. Yeah.
Quick anecdote. I have a very good friend. I met him in Germany, Ukrainian friend. So he used to live in eastern Ukraine, and he had a house there, right? Fantastic. It used to be a very developed country actually some years ago, but now what happened was that war started, and his house literally got hit by a rocket. And basically one rocket, and there is like we say in Polish, no two stones are on top of each other, you know, like evaporated basically, right? So that's it's extreme example, right? But it happens, and it's not a joke, and yeah, it's serious. If he had Bitcoin, then it's a different story, right? And he lost a house like this, right? And now you have passports there. There is a war zone. He cannot go back. He cannot do anything. Land is lost. Everything is lost. So that's the power of Bitcoin. Nobody can take it. You have 12 magic words in your head, or written down somewhere, hidden, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the point. What we need to think about property is the house is yours because there is a document that you signed with a notary that another person that you need to trust in another person that say that you are the owner, and this is saved in some place of your government authority that say that is yours. But what if the government wants to build a highway that is through your house? Of course, the government is going to pay for your house, but you're going to be moved from there. Second, what if there is a communist revolution of your country? What can happen, especially in Latin America, every single day. For example, now in Argentina, the communists have won the elections a few weeks ago in the Buenos Aires province. What if the communists come and they take out your house? What are you going to do? With Bitcoin, you have only 12 words in your head, and the property is yours. And by the way, you cannot carry your house. Imagine that you live in the United States, that there is no risk of a communist revolution, because even though Donald Trump calls the Democrats communists, but they are not communists. What happens if you want to? You cannot move around with your house. You cannot move. With Bitcoin, you can move anywhere. With the 12 words around in your head, you can move around the world. You can borrow, ask money using this as a collateral anywhere in the world that you are. So that's the magic of Bitcoin as a property. And other thing that I mentioned is you can have property for just $5, $10, $20. You don't need 500K to buy property with Bitcoin. And I think that Bitcoin is the biggest and the most equalitarian tool that we ever created, the best money, the best way of saving. And that's why we are here. That's why we are spreading the word. And that's why I love meeting Bitcoiners and let them talk about their projects. So, and we were talking about a little bit the Bitcoin treasury companies before. Yes.
Let me make one comment about this. So, maybe I want to share my worry, that in developed countries, we have very big debt problem. And to summarize it very, very easily, right? One problem, very big problem is that basically the government promised people, boomers, Gen X, etc., they promised them very high pensions. And it's not only in the US; it's in Europe is the same problem. Now, vast majority of it is so-called unfunded liabilities. So basically, they tell you that you will get $5,000 per month, but they don't have this money. And now this problem is coming to an end, to some sort of resolution, because the governments are many governments are so much in debt that this situation will need to be resolved. And unfortunately, there's only one way to resolve it, and it's through redistribution. And it's either through some increased money printing or maybe some wealth confiscation. So, and this is a very present problem in the United States, in France, in Belgium, in Japan, in many countries actually, very developed. So, I couldn't sleep very well if I had a lot of money, for example, in real estate in those countries, because there are stormy times ahead, and you should be prepared.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that our generation understand, and I think that when boomers, because of the nature of life, start passing away and we start getting the inheritance, I think it's going to be a huge move. I hope my mom lives until 100 years, but usually like the nature is the rules of life. Of course, everyone knows what I'm going to do with my mom's house. So that's the point. And it's not only for me, it's for my future generations, because I think that also Bitcoin is the best way to pass wealth and sovereignty and freedom through generations. So that's the best way. And again, now we have a lot of things. We are in the edge of, I think, the hyper Bitcoinization. We were talking about the Bitcoin treasury companies before starting the recording. Give me your point about that, because there is a lot of controversial about that. But anyways, give me your point.
Okay, quick takeaway. I like treasury companies. I will start here. I like it because I like the general idea. And the general idea is this. You have the 6.5% per year increase of US dollar supply, right? And this is very problematic for debt markets, for example. How much debt instruments are paying, right? Like 4% maybe. Basically, those instruments are bleeding. Their value is collapsing. So now there is a very big demand to do something to increase this earnings on the bonds. And now treasury companies figured out a way to get this demand, to make a little bit of financial engineering, and at the same time to pull a lot of capital towards buying Bitcoin. So this is very good, actually. It increases Bitcoin adoption, basically. So So in a nutshell, I like it. I like it a lot. It's another kind of black hole for getting more money and capital into Bitcoin system out of fiat system. Now there is one big risk. Of course, there is a big hype. There is a big marketing campaign to start those companies, and to market it as a safe investment, which is often not the case. And the marketing is very often just marketing, right? Like what happened with Nakamoto company, right? It's people call it a rug pull, which it wasn't actually. It completely wasn't a rug pull, but what happened was that some insiders, some investors got into the company on the cheap, and then the marketing was pumped very high. And then there was overall hype on the market about this, and a lot of people bought the company massively overvalued, basically at 20% of its real valuation, however you want to call it. And recently, over the last month, the value of it was collapsing. It collapsed like 90% or whatever it was. A lot of people got wrecked. So there is a lot of risks. You can participate on this in this, right? For sure. But it's risky. It requires very sophisticated analysis. The market metrics that you need to analyze very closely are a little bit different. It's like on the borders of traditional finance and Bitcoin. So you need a special set of skills to analyze them. And by the way, on Tuesday I will post a nice thread about this and 6 metrics you should look at it. Personally, I'm not involved in this. I think the main problem is that I would need to spend like at least half of my time on this to really be able to trade those companies. And I don't have I don't want to do it. But normally it should be full-time job, basically, to make money on this. So, I just want to mention that it's a hard job. You cannot just ape in like people did with this Nakamoto, right? It's not the right way, and we will get wrecked. Lastly, one point on the treasury companies is, I kind of like the fact that it pulls a lot of attention out of shitcoin markets. I think, generally speaking, the attention of the people should be on Bitcoin, even if it's not on Bitcoin, self-custody and the technology itself. Looking at the company, I think it's still better focus and energy better spent. As humanity, it's much more productive than to look at shitcoin games, basically.
And at the end of the day, this is investing in treasury companies is a way to have more fiat. At the end of the day, the only safe bet, no financial advice, is Bitcoin in self-custody. That's the only safe bet. All the others that can have more return are risky. So do your own research, study Bitcoin, and again, always invest the money that you are willing or you can afford to lose.
One liner I would add to this is that, in my humble personal opinion, Bitcoin is for saving, and Bitcoin is for everyone. And now investing, trading, this is for professionals, basically. So you want to do it, but do it professionally, or ape in a small amount of capital. But it's a sophisticated game.
Excellent. So now you need to leave because you need to go to Macau now. Are you going to gamble? I don't know. But I want to finish this by, please let us know your social media and how the people can contact you and how the people can get involved into buying the book and when approximately it's going to be released.
The best way to find me is on the new website, soundmoneyroad.com. Have a look. There is an email address where you can send me some feedback, which will be very much welcomed. The book is still in the works. I'm still finishing it. So like whatever feedback or ideas you have, please reach out. And yes, subscribe to get notified. Thank you very much.
Well, and I hope to have the book when I want to have a copy of the book when I get it, when you release it, and also if possible, if you can have a copy to make a lucky draw with our audience so they can have one and get involved and learn more about Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, we need to study a lot. This is not easy, but you need to study. You need to study a lot, get involved, and again, learn a lot about Bitcoin and all the new financial system that we are living in. Kasja, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day in Macau, and I hope to see you again soon in Hong Kong.
Thank you very much, Fernando. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
And that's all for today. If you like the episode, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media. Our X account is the Bitcoin _. Our YouTube channel is the Libertarian BTC. Our YouTube channel in Spanish is Libertarian BTC ESP. Our Patreon, the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our Instagram, the Bitcoin Libertarian. That's all. You can go there and follow us in all our social media. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must reach 8 billion people and onboard them to Bitcoin. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi.